The stars sparkled like jewels across the dark canvas of space, but something was wrong. Humanity, the most thriving and innovative species in the galaxy, had disappeared without a single trace. One moment, they were a key player in the Galactic Council, a symbol of determination, courage, and progress. The next, they were gone. No ships, no signals, no trace of their colonies, just an eerie silence where they once were. The Galactic Council had been quick to notice. It wasn't just that humans were missing. It was the unsettling absence that left a void no one could fill. At first, the Council dismissed it as a temporary glitch, perhaps some sort of technical failure. After all, the galaxy was vast, and travel between systems was not always perfect. But as hours turned into days, and days into weeks, even the most optimistic council members had to admit that something was terribly wrong. Zalkar, a member of the council and one of the more skeptical species in the galaxy, raised his concerns. In the first emergency meeting, "This is not a glitch. Humanity is gone, and we don't know why," he stated with a grim tone. "Perhaps they left," suggested Itra, a member from a peaceful species, trying to ease the tension in the room. "They didn't leave," Zalkar shot back. "Humanity didn't just vanish by choice. Something happened, something big, and we have no idea what it is." The room fell silent, each member of the council trying to wrap their minds around the idea. Humanity, which had fought countless battles and survived impossible odds, was simply gone. How could such a powerful species just disappear? The council decided to take action. They ordered an immediate investigation into the humans' last known locations. Their ships, fleets, and settlements were scanned for any signs of activity. For days, teams scoured the vast reaches of the galaxy, looking for any clue, but nothing. No sign of humanity's ships, no distress calls, not even a whisper. On the planet where Earth used to be, only dust and empty cities remained. There was no sign of life, no survivors, no message. The sky, once filled with the hum of human spacecraft, was now eerily still. What could have caused this? Asked Itra again, her voice trembling. "We don't know," Zalkar answered, "but it's clear that humanity didn't just leave. Something wiped them out, or something made them leave without any warning." The council's fear began to grow. Humanity had always been a strong ally, even if they were unpredictable at times. They were known for their resilience and resourcefulness. They had outlasted so many threats, and yet, now they were gone. What had happened? The suspicion grew that it wasn't just an accident. The idea of some massive cosmic event or weapon seemed more likely. There were rumors circulating, stories of a mysterious force, an unknown entity that had been lurking in the corners of the galaxy. A force so powerful that it could wipe out entire species without leaving a trace. The investigation continued, but each attempt to uncover the truth only raised more questions. The council called in the brightest minds from all over the galaxy, hoping for a breakthrough, but none came. The question everyone was asking was simple: why? "I've seen reports from human ambassadors," said Toll, a representative from a well-established species. "They've always been cautious of some unknown force. What if this is that force? What if humanity has fallen victim to something beyond our understanding?" The room buzzed with murmurs. The council members exchanged worried glances. The threat of an unknown enemy was one thing they could never fully prepare for. Humanity's disappearance could have been the result of some galactic catastrophe, but it could also mean something more deadly. As the days passed, the situation became more dire. There were whispers that some believed humanity might have discovered a new weapon, one so powerful that it could wipe out entire civilizations in the blink of an eye. Others suspected that humanity had found some way to escape into another dimension, hiding from an enemy that had already wiped out their colonies. But all these theories were just that, speculation. There were no answers. The silence surrounding humanity's disappearance grew louder, and the tension within the council only deepened. The council's greatest minds were working round the clock, trying to come up with an explanation, but there were no answers to be found. They searched the stars, and still nothing. Then, at the height of their desperation, the council decided to act. They would call on the greatest minds across the galaxy, pull all resources together, and find the answers. It was their last hope, but as they prepared for their next move, something happened. A signal, a small, encrypted message that only a few could decipher. Could this be from humanity? Itra asked, her voice trembling with hope. The message was faint, but it carried a chilling message, a message that would change everything. It read simply, "We're gone, and the galaxy will never be the same." The room fell into complete silence. The council members exchanged uneasy glances, their worst fears now confirmed. Humanity was not just missing, they were gone, and their departure had set something in motion, something the council could never have predicted. What had humanity stumbled upon in their final days, and why had they left without a trace? What had they uncovered that was so dangerous, so powerful, that it could change the course of the galaxy forever? The answers remained hidden, but one thing was clear: humanity's sudden disappearance was just the beginning of something much larger, and now the galaxy would pay the price. The room was filled with an uneasy silence as the council members sat in their grand chamber. The message from humanity had sent shockwaves through the ranks of every species present. The cryptic warning, "We're gone, and the galaxy will never be the same," hung in the air like a dark cloud. What did it mean, and why had humanity vanished without any sign of conflict? Zalkar's eyes flickered with suspicion as he leaned forward, his mind racing. The message is clear. Humanity didn't leave by choice. They were forced to vanish. Something out there, something beyond our control, has taken them out of the equation. Itra, usually the voice of reason, was visibly shaken. But who would have the power to do this? Humanity wasn't just a player in the galaxy, they were a force, a power that held its own. There's no way any one species could wipe them out without facing retaliation. And yet, here we are, Zalkar said. Humanity is gone, and now we are left with questions we may never be able to answer. But the bigger question is what comes next. The council's fears were mounting. In the silence of their chambers, they could almost feel the weight of something unseen, something sinister that had tipped the scales in a way they couldn't yet comprehend. Tal, a member of one of the galaxy's oldest species, spoke up. His voice slow but resolute. "We can't keep searching blindly. We need to act. We've always prided ourselves on the ability to act in the face of uncertainty, to take control when things spiral out of hand. Now, the galaxy is at a crossroads. Humanity's disappearance is not just a tragedy, it's a warning." "What warning?" asked Nura, a fierce warrior from a distant planet who had been notably quiet up until that moment. What could possibly come from this? Humanity wasn't perfect, but they fought for the galaxy. They weren't afraid to stand up to enemies. Whatever wiped them out must be something we can fight against. Zalkar's expression hardened. "We have no idea what we are facing. No one knows the full extent of what could be out there. Humanity vanished without a trace. The question is, what was the trigger? What caused them to leave or disappear? Was it a weapon, or something even more dangerous? The council members exchanged looks, and it was clear that the reality of the situation was sinking in. They were facing a threat that none of them could fully grasp. In the days that followed, every available resource was dedicated to finding answers. Fleet after fleet was sent to explore human space, to search for any remnants of their advanced technology or any clues that could help explain their sudden disappearance. But there was nothing. It was as if humanity had never existed. The silence was deafening. But then another message arrived. This time it was clearer, stronger, and even more alarming. It wasn't from humanity, but from a previously uncharted sector of the galaxy, an encrypted transmission. "I've decoded the message," said Tal, voice trembling as he read the words aloud. "It's not from any species we know. It's an alert, a warning." "What does it say?" Nura asked, leaning in. Tal hesitated for a moment before speaking, his voice heavy with dread. "It says, the eradication is only the beginning. We are not the first to fall." The room went silent once again. The implications were horrifying. Humanity had been the first to fall, but they wouldn't be the last. The council now understood they weren't dealing with just any threat. We're up against an enemy that had eradicated entire species before. The room grew cold. The air felt heavy as the weight of the council's responsibility pressed down on them. "We need to take action," said Zalkar. "If humanity's disappearance is part of a larger plan, then we must prepare for what's coming. The galaxy must be ready for what we may be facing. This is no longer just about humanity, it's about every living species in the galaxy." Itra's hands clenched into fists. "So, what do we do? What can we do? How do we prepare for something we don't understand?" The council members stared at one another, realizing the enormity of the task ahead. How could they combat an enemy they knew nothing about? How could they protect their people when they had no idea who or what was threatening them? The answer, unfortunately, was unclear. But one thing was certain: the fate of the galaxy was now at stake. "Send word to all corners of the galaxy," Zalkar said, voice filled with urgency. "We must unite. We must prepare for whatever is out there. And, most importantly, we must ensure that humanity's last warning is not ignored. The galaxy cannot afford to be divided any longer." As the council members began to disperse, each one carried the burden of the knowledge that the galaxy they had known was on the brink of chaos. Humanity was gone, and no one knew what would come next. But the true weight of the decision that had been made in that chamber, the decision to press the button that would seal their fate, would soon become clear. The council had no idea that the choice they made to search for answers would open a door to something far darker, something they may not be able to stop. The galaxy, once brimming with life and promise, now hummed with tension. Despite the council's best efforts, they were no closer to understanding the cause of humanity's disappearance, or what was to come. The encrypted message had sparked a wave of fear, and the warning, "We are not the first to fall," lingered in every mind. A dark cloud hung over every corner of the galaxy. It wasn't just humanity that was in danger. It was the entire galaxy. Zalkar, Itra, Tal, and Nura gathered once again in the council's chambers. Each of them weighed down by the realization that they were racing against time. Humanity's final message had shaken them all. The enemy they had feared was no longer just a distant possibility, was a real and present threat. We cannot afford to ignore the warning any longer. Zalkar said, his voice hard. We've sent out all the ships we can, and still nothing. No trace of humanity, no clue as to who or what did this. It's as if they vanished without a single trace sext for that one message. Tal looked at the projection screen in front of him, where a map of the galaxy was displayed. What if this wasn't just some attack? He asked, his voice low, barely above a whisper. What if they weren't just a race? What if they weren't? Moved, Itra raised an eyebrow, her sharp mind always seeking a different angle. Moved. What do you mean? There's a pattern to these disappearances, Tal continued, tapping the screen. If we look closely, there's something familiar about the way entire star systems have been erased, almost as if they were pulled somewhere else. A chill ran through the room. The thought of entire civilizations being pulled from existence was terrifying, but the possibility that humanity, of all species, had been transported, brought somewhere beyond their reach, was even worse. What was this mysterious force, and why had it targeted humanity? Nura's voice was filled with skepticism. If this force is as powerful as we think, why would it take humanity instead of simply destroying them? What's the purpose? Why leave? A message instead of finishing the job. Zalkar stepped forward, his eyes burning with intensity. That's the question, isn't it? Why take them at all? And if they were moved, where are they now? The council was divided. Some suggested that they focus on military preparations, arm all fleets, mobilize the forces. Others believed they should continue the search, try to decode the messages, and find a way to communicate with whatever force had orchestrated humanity's disappearance. But deep down, everyone knew that time was running out. The enemy they were facing was beyond anything they had imagined. They had no idea what they were up against, but whatever it was watching, waiting. As the meeting concluded, the members of the council dispersed, but the weight of the situation lingered in the air. The galaxy was on the brink of something dark and unknown, yet no one could shake the feeling that the worst was still to come. Meanwhile, far from the council's chambers, an unexpected visitor was making its way to an abandoned World 1 that had once been the center of humanity's greatest achievements. A ship, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, descended onto the barren surface. It was cloaked in shadows, its sleek design unnervingly quiet. No one had noticed it coming. No one had heard its engines roar. Inside, a figure stepped out. It was humanoid but unmistakably alien, its features hidden beneath a cloak of darkness. The figure moved with purpose, scanning the surface with eerie precision. The ground beneath it seemed to ripple, as if reacting to its presence. The figure stood still for a moment, and in that stillness, something shifted. The air crackled. The silence of the planet was broken by the soft hum of energy being harnessed. A pulse rippled through the very fabric of reality itself, and the ground beneath the figure trembled. It was a message, one that resonated deep, within the core of every sentient being in the galaxy. A ripple that shook the foundation of everything they thought they knew. The figure turned, its eyes glowing with an unsettling light. "The time has come," it whispered, its voice echoing. "In the vast emptiness, humanity is not the only one to fall." Back in the heart of the council, the members were working tirelessly, but the unknown forces were already at play. The faint signals were growing stronger. The invisible hand that had erased humanity was now moving again, and this time it was targeting more than just one species. It was targeting them all. The council's alarm bells rang as the first wave of ships appeared on the edge of the galaxy, It was too late for them to turn back now. This is only the beginning, Zalkar said quietly, the weight of the situation sinking in. The galaxy is on the verge of something unimaginable. If we do not act quickly, everything we know will fall. The Council's decision to act had come too late. The ripple had spread further than they could have anticipated. Whatever had taken humanity was not finished. It was just getting started. And as the first wave of ships breached the outer rim, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. The battle for survival had begun, and humanity, though lost, had left its mark on the galaxy. And now they would have to fight for more than their own survival. They would have to fight for everything. The galaxy trembled in the wake of the mysterious disappearance of humanity. The Council had only just begun to understand the magnitude of what they were facing, but the signs were undeniable. The forces that had erased humanity had not only left behind devastation, they had left a power vacuum and something deep within. The fabric of the universe had begun to stir, as though the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Zalkar paced back and forth in the dimly lit council chambers. The weight of his thoughts hung heavy. The attack had been swift and brutal, but the question that gnawed at him was not what had happened, but why. Why had humanity been chosen? And more importantly, why had they left the message they did? Always the thinker had been researching humanity's history, digging into everything they had left behind. I've been going through the data from their archives. There's something strange, something off about the way humanity always seemed to be prepared for the unthinkable, he said, tapping a holographic screen that hovered in front of him. You mean their obsession with defense? Itra asked. Every time we spoke to their ambassadors, they always seemed to have contingency plans. It was almost as if they expected something or someone to come for them. Tal nodded grimly. Exactly. It's like they knew. But knew what? There's something in their history, something in their technology that hints at an incredible, untapped power. I think they were more than just survivors. They may have been the galaxy's secret weapon. A chill ran down Zalkar's spine. What are you saying? That humanity had a weapon? A weapon strong enough to fight the forces that took them? Toll's eyes narrowed. I believe it's more than that. I think they had a secret and advantage they never revealed. We may have thought of humanity as merely a powerful species, but they might have been more than we ever knew. And whatever it was, it could still be out there. The silence that followed was thick with anticipation. If humanity had hidden something of unimaginable power, what was it? Was it a weapon, a secret technology, or something even more dangerous, something alive? As the council members mulled over these possibilities, far from their gaze, a ship sailed through the vast emptiness of space. It was a human-made vessel, seemingly abandoned by all accounts. The ship had been adrift for days, its engine silent and cold. But within it, something stirred deep within its hidden core. Dormant systems began to hum, and the lights flickered back to life. In the heart of the ship's central chamber, a pod began to open, its seals disengaging with a soft hiss. A figure emerged, human in form, yet somehow different. His eyes glowed faintly with an unnatural light, his body seemingly enhanced with technology unknown to the Council. His movements were smooth, almost predatory, as though he had been reborn into something far greater than what humanity had once been. His name was Captain Elias Vorsa, hero of the old human war efforts. Long thought to be lost, now transformed by the very technology humanity had left behind. He had not been erased. Instead, he had been preserved, hidden away for a reason. And now, With the disappearance of his people, he had awakened to a new purpose. "We've been waiting for this," Elias muttered, his voice laced with both sorrow and determination. "Humanity's time is not over. It's just beginning." The ship's systems hummed as Elias moved through its corridors, his mind focused on a single mission: survival. But not just for him, for all of humanity. The time had come for the galaxy to realize the true power of humans, and to know that their disappearance was no accident. He had awoken to find that his species was gone, but he also understood something far more crucial. The forces that had targeted humanity had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated what lay hidden within humanity's legacy. What they didn't know was that the disappearance was a tactical maneuver, not just a loss. Humanity had known that something was coming, and they had prepared. Back at the Council, the urgency had reached its peak. The first wave of the unknown enemy had arrived, and reports of its devastation were already coming in. Entire fleets were being wiped out before they could even react. The enemy was not just powerful, was precise, almost as if it had calculated the exact moment to strike. But still, the Council had no answers about its true identity. In the midst of this chaos, a transmission suddenly cut through the silence of the Council chambers. It was a signal, an encrypted message. The moment the message was decrypted, a chilling image appeared on the screen: a human face, weathered and worn but unmistakable. "Captain Elias Voss, I know who you are," he said. In the transmission, his eyes staring into the screen with an intensity that sent shivers through the room. "I know what you're up against, and I know why humanity was taken. But now, we're back, and the galaxy will feel the consequences." The Council members exchanged looks of disbelief and fear. Could it be possible that humanity had not been wiped out, but had simply gone into hiding, preparing for the ultimate battle? Had they, in their final moments, set a plan in motion that would now rise to defend the galaxy? Elias Voss's words echoed in their minds. "We are not gone. We are waiting." The galaxy had only just begun to realize that humanity's disappearance wasn't a defeat. It was a strategy. And now, the true fight for the future of the galaxy was about to begin, one that would involve not just survival, but a reckoning that would shake the very foundations of the universe. Humanity was coming back, and they had been waiting for this moment. The galaxy had always believed that humanity was an anomaly, species caught between the chaos of their past and the promise of their future. But as the shock of humanity's disappearance faded, a darker reality began to take shape. The Council was left scrambling, caught in a war they hadn't seen coming, one that had been set in motion by their own ignorance and humanity's silent strategy. Elias Voss, a figure lost in time, was now the galaxy's last hope wrapped in secrets and strategies, long buried by the very species who had now disappeared. His ship, the Starlight Reclaimer, drifted through the galaxy, moving with calculated precision. Within it, Elias and his crew, human soldiers who had survived in stasis, hidden away from the Council's knowledge, began to mobilize. In the bowels of the Starlight Reclaimer, a hidden chamber flickered to life. The Humanity Protocol, as it was known, activated itself, a code that had been laid out long before the Council had even realized what humanity was capable of. The protocols were clear: when the galaxy was in danger of an extinction-level threat, humanity would return not to fight for dominance, but to protect what had been forgotten. The message was clear. Humanity hadn't vanished, they had prepared. Every move they made had been for this very moment, and now the galaxy would see exactly what humanity's true legacy was. Back at the Council's headquarters, the enemy force had begun to show its true nature. It wasn't just one species, it was a coalition of galaxies, each with its own agenda, but all united by a single objective: wipe out the Council. And with it, every form of life that had once stood against them. Their motives remained unclear, but one thing was certain: humanity had been their first target. As the Council scrambled to gather its forces, reports from the outer rim began flooding in. Entire fleets had been obliterated within moments of engagement. No weapons had been able to penetrate the enemy's shield. No defenses had been effective. It seemed as if the galaxy's most formidable military minds had met their match. But just when it seemed like hope was all but lost, the Council received a message from an unexpected source. The transmission was clear but encrypted. The words appeared on the screen. "We are coming back. You've been warned. Prepare." Eitra gasped. "It's from them, humanity. They're alive." Zalkara's face darkened. What does this mean? If humanity was hiding this whole time, then why weren't we told? Why didn't they prepare us for this? Tal, who had been analyzing the transmissions from the human fleet, stepped forward. They never wanted to fight a war. Humanity, more than any of us, understood the nature of balance. But they knew this day would come. They had been tracking the threat for centuries, perhaps even longer, and they knew that they would have to hide away until the time was right. "What do we do now?" Nira asked, her voice steady but filled with uncertainty. Zalkar's eyes narrowed. "We wait, and we prepare." The next few days were filled with tension as the Council's fleets gathered their forces. But there was a strange shift in the atmosphere, a quiet undercurrent of hope where there had only been fear. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, the Council wasn't fighting a losing battle. They had a chance. Humanity was coming back, and the entire galaxy would soon know the true power of the human spirit. As the Starlight Reclaimer and its fleet made their way through hyperspace, Elias Voss stood at the helm, his mind sharp, his purpose clear. "This is it," he said quietly, his voice strong and commanding. "The galaxy believes humanity was erased, but we were never gone. We were simply waiting for this moment. Now we show them the power of humanity's legacy. This time we fight to protect, not to conquer." His eyes were fixed on the vast unknown ahead. Behind him, the crew moved with quiet precision, ready for whatever came next. There were no more secrets left, no more hiding. The galaxy was about to find out exactly what humanity was capable of. And for the first time in a long while, the darkness that had once seemed so insurmountable now seemed just a little less daunting. As the fleet emerged from hyperspace, the Council's forces received the first sign of humanity's return. An immense fleet of human warships, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were massive, each ship brimming with advanced technology that had long been hidden. But it was not just the ships that commanded attention. It was the symbols etched into the hull symbols of a forgotten power, a forgotten race, humanity's. Mark was now upon the galaxy once more, and with it came an unspoken promise. They had returned, and the galaxy would not be the same again. The Council watched in awe as humanity's ships formed a battle line alongside their own, each vessel humming with a strange, powerful energy. There was no turning back now. The war that would define the future of the galaxy was about to begin. Elias Voss stood before his crew, his voice steady. "This is our moment. The galaxy will see that humanity was never weak, never lost. We were simply waiting, watching, and preparing. Now we make our stand." And with that, the battle for the galaxy's future began. Not with firepower, but with the undeniable strength of humanity's legacy, powerful, quiet, and resolute. The reckoning had arrived. And this time, the galaxy would be forced to remember humanity's name.